yeah? Just a really quick one today. I just wanted to talk about two ways of making your arpeggio sound a bit more stylish and a bit more hip. So I think of these as being sort of launching little licks, I guess, or little bits of information. So if you're the kind of player who's arpeggio based, you might find this useful for giving your playing a little bit more style, if you don't do it already. So for instance, if I'm playing, like, I don't know, let's say B flat 7, and I might start with a B flat 7 arpeggio like this. It hasn't really got a huge amount of style. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Nothing wrong with it. It outlines the harmony very clearly. But perhaps we can add in a little bit more kind of style. And one good way of doing this is to add in an enclosure at the start of the line. This is a very common sort of trope. You find it in loads and loads of jazz lines. For some reason, I'm thinking of Saturday Night at the Cadillac Club by Bob Berg. But a lot of those fusion players are really bebop inspired. Anyway, I've got my Dweeby Mahavishnu Orchestra t-shirt today, so that means I can talk about fusion. Yeah, so the way this works is that you're just going to put in a note above and a note below the first note. Now, in general, when you're doing a note above and a note below, you use a very simple rule, which is the note above is diatonic and the note below is chromatic. So in this case, if it's B flat 7, we start on the note C, and we add in an A, then we play our arpeggio. And you can do that with any arpeggio. You can do it with a major 7th. You can do it with a minor. Maybe you could do it. With minor 7th. Maybe minor major 7th. It doesn't matter. This lower neighbour up here is not itself a harmonic sound. It's just a passing tone. Yeah. So you can do any of them. Okay. You can do diminished. Any colour at all, any colour of chord. And in the diminished case, it's quite nice, you know, because you've got the... You can do all of them, and then you've got the whole half scale, the diminished scale, or octatonic scale, as they like to call it for some reason. So, as if there aren't loads of 8-note scales, by the way. Anyway, Barry Harris has something to say about that, I'm sure. Yeah, so this is a nice way of making it sound a bit more stylish. Now, there's a few rhythmic things. If I play that, see, one and 2 and 3, and it ends on the and, right? So if you want to smooth out the rhythm slightly, you've got two options. You can either add an extra note in the arpeggio, so maybe go up to the 9th, which is hit. You hear that? You know, you keep going if you want. That's kind of getting into Wesy territory there, Wes Montgomery territory. But if you don't want to do that, what you can do is you can add in that C again on the way up. That's again a very common figure, you know, if I do it an octave up. It works really nicely on the guitar, really. Feels very nice to play. So, I mean, if you can do any of the, you know, any of the arpeggios in the B flat dominant stroke mixolydian scale. So I can go what's that? That's it. So they're all there, right? And then of course you can do the other shapes as well. So, of those, there are 4 which I use most often out of the 7th chords of the B flat 7 scale. But we've done one of them already, it's B flat. Next one is the D half diminished. In this case, our diatonic half step is a 4th degree, or the 11th of B flat 7. So we just have a half step above and half step below. And then again, if you want to, you can add that note back in as well. We'll go up to the next arpeggio tone. Now with these sorts of things, I find that rather than thinking about actually what the name of the chord is, I'm just thinking about missing out steps in the scale. So this is almost a different way of like thinking about music, especially the Barry Harris sort of line construction stuff. I find that sometimes I just don't really know what I'm playing, you know, in terms of what it is harmonically. But I'm thinking more melodically and more in terms of, you know, am I going up the scale by steps, or am I jumping by a third, or am I, you know, doing a pivot arpeggio or whatever, which is a really nice mindset to get into. So I'm naming these arpeggios now, but I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about them when I was playing them. Next one is F minor 7th, which is really useful, or depending how you play it. The 9th. Next one is the A flat major 7th, my favourite. Okay, and this one. One. That's a nice one, by the way. With the half diminished with the added passing tone in. See that in Hot House, for instance. So yeah, that's good. I mean, you don't have to use those. You can use triads. You know, it might be more useful for some stuff. I know. So triads are useful too, and of course I've already explained that you can use extended arpeggios. So another great little arpeggio launcher, little frill that you can add to make it sound a bit cooler, is my favourite thing, which I think of as the as a like kind of bowstring. Like it's like you're drawing back a bow and then you're firing the arrow, and this kind of energy is created. So if I give you an example of that kind of thing, sorry, that's the last lick. So what I did there is I started off with and you can hear that you've got that triplet, right? And that usually happens on beat. The triplet itself happens on beat two or four, okay? But you get a little sort of chromatic lower neighbour that happens on the upbeats just before it. So what this means in terms of counting, if I start it on the end of 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2 and 3, okay? So it start on the end of 1 and up on 3. And this is a lower neighbour tone followed by an arpeggio triplet. So the arpeggio triplet is a good thing to sweep, you know. Some shapes be better than others. Yeah, so you've got those different sounds. Those are my 4 main sounds again, but you could do any of them within the scale. Okay, so you're doing that, and then it's just a sort of lower neighbour followed by a triplet arpeggio. So I'll just slow it down so you can hear it properly in case you haven't got that. It's just this. So this is the B flat 7. We play that as a triplet, and then we've got an extra note right on the beat. So 2 and 3 like that, and then we put a little lower neighbour, which is an A, on the end of 1. So 1 and 2 and 3. Sorry, yeah, try that again. 1 and 2. Okay. So again, it's, you know, you could even do an enclosure there and combine the two things. So that would work as well. You know, or whatever. So you could do the same things, but most often I find that is just like starts on the upbeat and then it's got that triplet, and it's a great swing rhythm. Ba da ba dee ba, so ba ba da ba. So ba ba da ba, kind of adds a bit of zest and a bit of lilt to your playing. Stops it from all being eighth notes, which is always a good thing. And you can just sort of start a phrase in a really good space with that. So. It's just really nice. It's really hit, really nice sort of feeling phrase. And of course, you're not limited to just putting them in the beginning of lines, you can put them in the middle. So, which will add a bit more rhythmic variety to your playing. I find those two phrases really useful. There's other ones that I'll probably cover as well, but it's just nice to kind of do two with a nice short video. So and of course you can mix them up. So, and that little thing at the end is known as what Barry Harris calls a four phrase. It's like wrapping around the third of the target chord. It's a surround or an enclosure around the third of the target chord. So if I go. Go down the scale, for instance, from there. So if you're sort of wondering what to do with, if you've been learning your added note rules, Barry Harris stuff as well, and you're wondering how to make them, get out just playing. This adds a way of getting into it, which is quite nice. So if I play, you can join them up with arpeggios and come up with actual proper lines as well. So you might want to consider doing that. Anyway, I hope you find that useful. I do. Thanks for watching.